Grand rising, grand afternoon, grand evening. Wherever you're tuning in from around the globe, peace, blessings, financial freedom. Peace, blessings, financial freedom. Peace, blessings, financial freedom. Welcome to the $1 Trillion Tickers broadcast. I'm your host, Matt Riches. It is the weekend, so you know what that means. We are checking on our Iran War 2026 watch list. We got to do an update. We've been doing an update every weekend since the war started. So let's get into it. We got oil stocks on here, oil ETFs, and defense stocks. Let's go. All right, first up, we got BNO, United States Brent Oil Fund. And as you can see, I just put a red line here. This was the first day of the war when the market was open. The war actually started over this weekend from February to March. So had you gotten in when we first did this watch list, just say you got in at the high of day on that Monday. At the high point of May 4th, you would have been up 60%. It did pull back and sell off, down 34%, but you currently be up 40%, and that's from March 2nd. So if you took that trade, you made some nice trade. All right, next, let's check out USO, United States Oil Fund. All right, let's start at the same part here. At the high, you would have been up 71% on this trade, April 29th. And then it sold off to 43%. Bought back up, you currently be up 50.7%. So wonderful call on that. Shout out to everybody that got into that trade. Next, if you went the ETF route because you wanted to reduce the risk, you also reduce the rewards. But let me show you what we got. You started March 2nd. March 30th, you were up 9.6%, which is drastically lower than the first two, but hey, that's what happens. And then it sold off. So by April 17th, you were down 7.7%. Then you bought back up. By April 30th, you were up 3.33%, and then it sold off again. Now it's currently at minus 3.7%. So if you got into XLE, did you take profits in time, or are you back negative? Put it in the chat or the comments. Next, we got XOP. Same thing, another oil ETF. Let's see what we got. So at the high, March 30th, you were up 18.2%. Then it sold off to negative 4%. Bought back up. Negative 4% was at April 17th. Bought back up. So by May 5th, you were up 12.8%. And then you are currently up 2.8%. So better than XLE for sure. Next, we have IEO, which is iShares Oil and Gas Exploration and Production ETF. Let's start from our March 2nd. At the high, you were up 15.5% by March 30th. Then it sold off. By April 17th, you were down 5%. Bought back up. By May 5th, you were up 9.6%. You are currently barely over break even, less than 1%. All right, now let's get to the defense stocks. If you thought it's an Iran war 2026, well, I can't say that right. If you thought it's an Iran war 2026, so I need to get into these defense stocks. We're going to start with Lockheed Martin. Here we are, March 2nd. As you can see, this was the peak of the stock, and it sold off by March 30th. You were down 13%. You bought up by April 6th. You were down only 7.8%, and then it just sold off completely, down 26.8% from the beginning of the war. So this was definitely not the trade that you wanted for this particular war. All right, next we got Northrop Grumman. So this is March 2nd here. It bought up for 1 day, less than 1%, then it sold off. So by the time March 24th comes, you were down 13%. And then it bought up April 2nd, down 7.7%, and then just sold off completely. Now down 28.5% from the start of the war. So Northrop Grumman was definitely not a trade that you wanted to get into based on this war. Next, Raytheon Technology, now known as RTX. March 2nd, bought up for 1 day, less than 1%, and then sold off. By the time we got to March 30th, it was down 12.8%, bought up. By April 9th, it was down only 3.5%, and then sold off. By the time we got to April 24th, it was down 19.3%, and then just started consolidating. Currently down 17.2%. So these defense stocks did not work out for this war. We'll have to see what happens with the next war, but it was all about oil this time. All right, let's check out Chevron. All right, Chevron, March 2nd. If you got in at the high, March 30th, you would have been up 12%. It did sell off. By the time you got to April 17th, you were down 7.1%. Bought back up. April 30th, you were barely over break even, not even 1.5%. And then it sold off again. You currently be down 5%. So did you take profits in time with Chevron, or did you get caught holding the bag? And our last ticker on this Iran War 2026 watch list, Exxon Mobil, March 2nd. It sold off to start. By March 11th, you were down 7.5%, but then it bought up. And you were up 10% by March 30th. And it sold off. By April 17th, you were down 11%. By April 30th, you were down only 2.4%. Then it sold off again. You currently be down 9.4%. Did you sell Exxon Mobil at the right time, or are you stuck holding the bag on this oil trade? All right, so that's our weekly update for the Iran 2026 war watch list, y'all. I hope you were invested in BNO or USO because those ran very nicely and would have made you a nice profit very quickly. And these other ones, not so much, especially defense. If you bought defense thinking this war is going to be a defensive play, no, it was not, and your profit has been destroyed. All right, thanks for tuning in, y'all. We'll be back next week. No, we'll be back tomorrow when the market opens. Tomorrow is Monday, so the market will be open. We'll be back for the pre-market briefing before market opens around 5:30. Peace, blessings, financial freedom. Peace, blessings, financial freedom. Peace, blessings, financial freedom.